Most people don't realize this until it's too late. You can achieve everything and still feel absolutely nothing. You get your dream body, you get all the money you've ever wanted, you get the relationship you dreamt of, and somehow you're still weirdly unsatisfied. Why is that though? Well, it's because the second you reach a goal, your brain just makes a new one. You never actually arrive anywhere because you're always chasing. And if you don't figure out what I'm about to show you, you can spend a huge chunk of your life in motion and never feel like you're moving forward. It's kind of like running on a treadmill, except the treadmill is on fire. So there was this guy. He spent years obsessing over his dream car. He worked overtime. He saved every dollar, and he studied every model of the car. And eventually, he did buy it. At first, it was amazing. He got his compliments, he had pride in his achievements, and he felt like the main character. But just a few weeks later, he barely noticed its specialty anymore. It just became another car. And all of a sudden, he was already thinking about his next car. That's what happens when your mind's wired to chase. You don't enjoy what you earned. You just raise the bar and you keep sprinting. There's a reason your wins stop feeling like wins, and the story I'm about to tell you might show you exactly why. I had a giant checklist in my teens. Get fit. Get my dream body. I need abs like I'm a Marvel superhero. I need to make millions. And ideally, I need to grow a YouTube channel. I wanted to become someone who I deemed successful. And I checked a few of those options off, but every time I hit something, I barely let myself feel it. I just moved the goalpost. There was no moment where I said, hey, I did this, I got my goal. I would only ask myself, what's next? Time to hit the next goal. That's when it hit me. I never taught myself how to feel enough. I only taught myself how to keep going. It's like cooking a feast, a whole buffet for yourself of your dream food, and then forgetting to sit down and eat it. Think about that. When you put it that way, it's kinda crazy, right? If your goals keep getting bigger, but your peace never shows up with them, there's probably a reason, and I'll tell you how to fix that right now. What helped wasn't grinding harder, it was asking better questions. I stopped asking myself, hey, what's next? But I started asking myself, what if this achievement, what if this thing is enough? Not in a fake gratitude way though, like actually, if nobody clapped, if nothing changed, would I still value this moment? Would I still value this achievement? I stopped trying to win the imaginary scoreboard, and I started giving myself permission to feel full before the next upgrade. I basically retired from chasing clout, and the benefits really kicked in immediately. But this isn't just about slowing down, it's about building a life where joy doesn't need permission. And here's how you can start. Number one is to define what enough means to you in actual writing. Like take an actual paper and take an actual pen and define what enough means to you before you set out on a major goal. Don't keep it vague, write it down and make it clear. Because if you don't decide, the world will decide for you. Number two is to set real finish lines. When you hit a goal, pause. Celebrate and say, hey, this matters. This achievement is great. Don't just sprint past it like it never happened. For example, I know a lot of you guys are probably graduating in just a few days from now. So pause and go to your graduation. Enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the last time you'll probably be on that campus. See your people one last time. Give yourself a day to say, hey, I made it. I did it. I put in years for this and I did it. And then after that, you can go chase your next level of school. But number three is to practice restraint on purpose. If you always have to upgrade something, if you always have to scroll or chase, your brain forgets how to rest. So try holding off even when you know you can have more. Number four, which is the most important one, is to clean your inputs. Unfollow voices that make you feel behind, kind of like the gurus who say, hey, like, this is how you become a millionaire, this is how you blah 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 blah, buy my course and I'll teach you exactly how to do this. Unfollow those people, because number one, they're making you feel behind, and number two, they're using you for money. And replace them with ones that remind you how to slow down, not speed up. pretty much just subscribe to me. And basically treat your brain like a garden and stop watering the weeds. There was a time where I thought I just needed to be more motivated, that if I found the right video or the right quote, I'd finally stop wasting my potential. So I tried literally everything. Productivity apps that I ended up abandoning in 3 days, midnight life resets that went away by the morning, endless motivation playlists that made me feel productive without actually changing anything. And every time I got inspired, I told myself, this is it. This is the week that I lock in. But it would all fall apart by 2 p.m. the next day, which is actually not when it would fall apart, but when I would wake up. That cycle didn't last a week. It lasted for years. Years of hyping myself up at night, only to do nothing the next day, over and over. I used to think I lacked discipline, that I just wasn't built for consistency. But the truth is that I never built a system that made following through easier than quitting. And without that, my motivation never stood a chance. I was basically trying to climb a mountain in flip-flops. Every time I made progress, I'd slip right back down. Motivation can light a spark, but without structure to hold it, it burns out before it ever becomes something real. And it took years of watching that fire die to finally see what I'm about to share with you. The reason I kept chasing motivation is because it felt like progress. Watching productivity videos, writing fresh to-do lists, and highlighting quotes like they were gonna save my life. It gave me this short-term high, as if I was becoming someone new, thinking that the intention to grow was enough. But here's the problem. Oftentimes, motivation is emotional. It makes you feel ready, even when your environment isn't. It's like drinking an energy drink on a flat tire. The burst is real, but the system carrying you isn't built to go far. It tricks you into thinking the work has already started, when really, you haven't done anything yet. You feel good in the moment. You feel like this time it'll be different, but it fades, just like the last 12 times. At some point, I had to be honest. My problem wasn't inspiration, it was execution. And I was trying to execute inside a system that wasn't ready for me to execute. It's like trying to sprint on ice. Even when you want it, you're gonna slip. So the issue isn't how much you want it. Maybe it's how little your setup supports it. Let me show you what finally worked for me. I stopped relying on motivation completely, and instead, I made success easier than failure. This is all based on a book called Atomic Habits that I've been reading. It says to focus on your environment and not your willpower. I deleted the apps that distracted me, so I've been off TikTok and Instagram for 2 years now. And in the last few months, I started charging my phone in another room. I write my to-do list the night before so that I don't wake up and immediately scroll. A metaphor I like to use for this is it's like you're clearing rocks off of a running trail, so that you're not tripping every 5 steps. I didn't try to quote-unquote change my life overnight. I just tried to remove the friction. And the wild part is that once the system started working, I didn't need motivation anymore, because the momentum took over. Setting this system up made doing the right thing feel automatic. I wasn't constantly convincing myself anymore, I just started. But this isn't just about saving time. It's about finally getting your life to feel aligned again. And that starts with fixing the system you're living inside. You ever do something consistently for a week and realize how much energy you've been wasting fighting yourself? That's what happens when the system clicks. You stop debating your habits. You don't start your morning in a doom scroll spiral because your phone is charging in another room. Your to-do list is already written, and you've removed the friction that used to trip you up. So when it's time to go to the gym or sit down to work, you just go. No overthinking, no talking yourself out of it. You stop negotiating with your goals. You're not rewriting your plan midday asking, should I push this off? Should I skip today? All of a sudden, your days feel lighter and your focus returns. You don't need to hype yourself up every day because the hard part's already been handled. And that version of you, the one who's not stuck restarting every Monday, That version is very, very possible. You don't need to rebuild yourself from scratch. You just need to rewire your autopilot. And once that clicks, you'll finally understand why motivation is never the problem. So no, you're not lazy. You're not broken. You've just been stuck inside a structure that makes progress feel impossible. Some people spend their whole lives chasing money, and some people already have it, but they're still miserable. So who's right? Is money the solution or the distraction? Here's a thought. You can have everything you once dreamed of. The house, the car, and still feel like something's missing. You can hit all your financial goals and still feel completely hollow inside. So maybe the real question isn't, does money buy happiness? Maybe it's, what kind of life are you building, and why doesn't it feel like it's working? You've probably heard it 100 times. Money doesn't buy happiness, or money buys happiness. People say it like it ends the conversation, but it's an incomplete question to begin with. Because money absolutely plays a role in happiness. If you've ever lived paycheck to paycheck, if you've ever had to choose between gas or groceries, then you know what I mean. Money buys stability. It buys options. It buys freedom. Being able to say yes to dinner with friends. Being able to buy good food, take a vacation, or not panic when your car breaks down. Those are a great foundation to building happiness. But what I'm about to say might change how you think about happiness and why money only plays one part in it. Here's what I don't hear too often. The question of money buying happiness is flawed. Does money buy happiness? That phrasing assumes that happiness is something you can buy, that it's transactional, but it's not. If your whole idea of happiness is tied to what you can purchase, you're building it on a house of sand. You keep stacking luxuries, but if the ground underneath keeps shifting, you'll never feel steady. Happiness isn't material, it's purpose. It's raising good kids, giving to people who can't give back, being useful, serving a bigger cause than yourself. And if you're religious like I am, happiness is Jannah, or heaven, or paradise. But even in a worldly sense, real happiness comes from meaning, not necessarily from money. And if we're being honest, some of the happiest people on earth live in those villages without electricity. Small villages, no gadgets, no noise, but they smile a lot more than us. They're grounded. We assume they must be miserable. We're like, oh my god, they don't have electricity, we have to save them. We have to give them cars and like functioning modern society. But they don't feel that way. A lot of them are more at peace than we are. And what I'll share with you next might flip your mindset. Because we've been measuring happiness with the wrong ruler. Money buys the conditions that happiness needs to grow. It buys safety. It buys access. It buys time. Time to care for your health. Time to take a break. Time to give, reflect, breathe. And research backs this up. Happiness increases with income, but only up to around $75,000 to $100,000 a year. And after that, it plateaus. And I know it depends on where you live. Here in the States, if you live in like Wyoming, you need like $10 a year to live a good life. But here in California, I hear of a lot of people struggling with making like $80,000. So it depends on where you are. But beyond a certain point, you're not solving emotional pain. You're just upgrading your lifestyle. A nicer car, a better hotel, but you're just changing scenery while carrying the same heaviness inside. So yes, money supports you, but don't expect it to do a job that it was never designed to do. And what I'll share next explains why even a raise, a vacation, or a big win can leave you feeling strangely flat. So why does that happen? Why do you finally get what you wanted and feel nothing? It's because money solves external problems, not internal ones. Money can fix your calendar, but not your conscience. Once your basic needs are met, like the ones I said earlier, the next level of peace comes from meaning. And that's where people start to feel lost, because they've been climbing a ladder that doesn't lead anywhere. And this is where it starts to get real. Think of people who are rich and famous. Most of them literally can't leave their homes without being swarmed by paparazzi. All the flashing lights, and strangers begging to take selfies or asking for autographs at every turn you take. That's not freedom, that's kind of just living in a cage. Or someone in a broken marriage. Money can buy a bigger house, but it can't make a happy one. Or parenting. What good is $1 million if your kids grow up lost? I know someone personally, he's filthy rich, but his son keeps ending up in jail, over and over. So ask him, aside from paying bail, what good does that money do him when he can't go to sleep without thinking his son can be locked up again tomorrow? That's not peace, that's pain, and no amount of money can dull it. So, does money buy happiness? No. But it supports it. It gives you tools to build a life, but you still have to decide the life you're building. Because happiness isn't in your bank account. It's in the way you live, in who you love, in how you treat people. Money gives you choices, and some of those choices can absolutely bring joy. But if you don't know what actually matters to you, more money just means more distraction. You'll upgrade everything except your soul, and in the end, that's the only part that actually needs fixing. But side note, don't let this video think that I'm saying not to try and secure your future with a good amount of money. Always try and get money to support your life and to live a very comfortable life. But don't think that money will fix all of your internal problems. You can do everything right. Wake up early, work out, read, grind, and still go to bed feeling weirdly empty. Like the progress isn't landing the way it should. And what I'm about to say might explain why. Because at some point, it's not only about effort or discipline. It's about the one thing that a lot of people don't talk about, but a lot of people are missing. It might explain why you've felt off for months and haven't even realized it. I've seen people do everything right. They eat clean, they're locked in, they read, they build, and they improve. But then they'll say, honestly, I just kind of feel alone in all this. And it makes sense, because when you grow without community, progress starts to feel quiet, almost like it's hollow. It's like leveling up in a game, except you're alone on an empty server, in an empty, dead game. What's the point in maxing out your character if you're the only one playing the game? It's easy to think you're doing something wrong, like maybe you're not trying hard enough. But the truth is, you might just be missing a circle. Not even close friends, just people on your wavelength. People who are building too. People who care about what you care about. What I'm about to get into might reframe how you think about discipline, burnout, and why progress doesn't always feel good. Stay with me because this part's important, especially if your life feels like an endless to-do list with no time to have fun. This kind of loneliness is subtle. It's not that you don't have people, it's just that none of them are growing in the same direction. You're evolving while they're coasting, and that creates distance. All of a sudden, the more you grow, the harder it is to relate, and without realizing it, your journey starts to feel isolating. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because no one around you really gets it. It's like when you try to high-five someone and they leave you hanging. But what I'm about to show you might be the shift that makes growth actually feel good again. I made a Discord server for anyone looking to join a community, a place where people are actually building themselves. Whether it's self-growth, or you want to play games together like Minecraft or Valorant, League, anything. I want it to be a safe space, where you don't feel weird for wanting more out of life, where friendships grow naturally, where you can talk goals, or vent, or just hang out. I have big dreams for this channel and for that server, to make something that helps people actually thrive. Full transparency though, in the future, I plan on building paid offers and services, not to gatekeep anything, but to grow this all with support so that I can scale it to something even bigger. But for now, it's simple. The server's bare bones, but we'll build it together. If that sounds like something you want to be part of, the link is in the description. There's a teaching we have in Islam, and the quote is something like, "The wolf eats the sheep that strays from the flock." That's not just about danger, it's about what happens when you're on your own for too long. You start slipping, slowly and quietly, and no one's there to pull you back. It's like getting stuck in quicksand and convincing yourself that, oh, yeah, I'm just working on it, I'll get out by myself. And what you're about to hear might explain why even the wins don't feel like wins sometimes. You hit your gym goal, you land that job, you finish reading a book, but something still feels off. You say, I did it, and people say, cool, okay. You start wondering if you're chasing the wrong stuff, when really you're just chasing it alone. Progress wasn't meant to be broadcasted, but it also wasn't meant to be invisible. You need people who see it, feel it, and reflect it back. Otherwise, it feels like you're throwing a party and everyone forgets to show up. It's like when no one showed up to Doofenshmirtz's birth, not even his parents. What I'm about to say is simple, but it helped me stop mistaking burnout for discipline. No one actually does this alone. Even the people we admire, the self-made, hyper-disciplined, independent ones, they all had people around them. Mentors, teammates, friends, someone to challenge them, someone to pull them back when they started slipping. We just don't see that part. So we start thinking we're supposed to carry every weight, solve every problem, and never ask for help. That's when it gets heavy, because isolation doesn't make you stronger. It just makes you quieter, until you burn out. There's no trophy for doing it alone, only silence, and pain that nobody sees. Even Batman has Alfred. You're allowed to have a group chat and a support group. You ever walk away from a conversation and just feel invisible? Like you were there, you said all the right things, you nodded, you smiled, and yet somehow they'll forget you 5 minutes later. Meanwhile, someone else barely talks and people gravitate towards them. This video breaks down exactly why. It's not confidence, it's not charisma, it's subtle habits, tiny things that make you feel unforgettable. Most people think likability is loud, but a lot of real connection is actually quiet, and it happens in the margins. So here are 7 subtle habits that flip a switch in people's minds and make you the kind of person they remember. Real quick, I made a Discord for people in this community serious about leveling up, whether they want to just grow, talk, game, or just be part of the community. If you want to join, link is in the description. So let's start simple with the smile. Not the customer service smile though, I'm talking about the kind where your eyes soften, where your face relaxes like you just spotted someone you love in a crowd. A genuine smile makes people feel like they're at home. It's like sunlight, it warms everything around it. I'm sure you know someone who barely talks, but people always like that person immediately. And a lot of that reason is probably because of how much they smile, even if you've never met them. But even a perfect smile won't land unless you add this next thing, a brain hack that instantly deepens connection. Using someone's name in a conversation is like turning on a light in a dim room. It snaps them into focus. It says, I see you. Like, think about it. Saying something like, that's a great point, Bartholomew. It hits way harder than just saying, yeah, true. When people feel seen, they want to stay. But if you want them to feel understood, you need this next one, which is active listening. Listening isn't just waiting for your turn to speak. You have to react and nod, and asking follow-up questions like, how did that feel? Or what happened next? Most people want to be heard, and when you show that you're actively listening by really paying attention to what they say, they'll really notice. Listening is like holding up a mirror. You're showing them what they just shared actually matters. But your words won't matter if your posture is telling people to stay away. So number 4 is having open body language. Your body speaks before your mouth does. So uncross your arms and relax your shoulders. Maybe tilt your head a little bit and make soft eye contact. Walking into a room with closed-off body language is like showing up to a beach in a full suit. You're kind of saying like, yeah, I don't want to be here. So think about it like this. Good posture is an open door, while bad posture is a do not disturb sign. But here's where most people mess up. They try too hard to be interesting instead of being interested. So number 5 is to be curious, not just interesting. People remember how you made them feel, and nothing makes someone feel valued like genuine curiosity. Being curious is like turning on a flashlight in their world. You make them feel seen. Like one time I was at an event and someone asked me, "Why do you love what you do?" And I paused for a long time. So I smiled and I said, no one has ever asked me that before. And it made me feel really good to continue that conversation. And all of this isn't just modern psychology. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had this all mastered. He asked people thoughtful questions. He gave them his full attention like they were the only person in the world during that conversation. Even his enemies said that he made them feel deeply seen. That's not just charisma, that's presence. And you can practice that too. But presence isn't just shown in the moment. It's proven later, when you remember what mattered to someone in a previous conversation you had. So number 6 is to remember the little things. If you want to blow someone's mind, remember their cat's name. Remember they had a test coming up and ask them how that went. Or remember that they love pistachio ice cream. I try and do this a lot, and a common reaction I get is people saying, "How did you remember that?" It makes them understand that you're actually interested in what they want to say. Because memory is like emotional currency, and a lot of people are broke, so it helps to remember something about others. And now for the final habit, the one that makes people feel like you just get them, which is to match their energy. You don't need to fake that you have their personality. Just tune in to their rhythm. If they're soft-spoken, don't come in like a crazy YouTube intro. And if they're hyped, don't give one-word replies. It's like adjusting the volume to match the room. Too loud and it's overwhelming. Too quiet and you fade into the background. Get the level right and suddenly people lean in. None of this is about manipulation. It's about making people feel safe with you. And the people we remember are the ones who made us feel like we mattered. You don't need to be the funniest or smartest person in the room. You just need to be present. Because presence, real presence, is unforgettable. You ever feel like you're trapped inside a loop you didn't choose? You wake up with the best intentions, saying, "I'll stop scrolling, I'll go for that run, I'll start the thing that I've been putting off." But then the day happens, and before you know it, you're right back where you started. It's like watching yourself relapse in slow motion, like your body's on autopilot and your brain's just tagging along for the ride. And the worst part is that you know better, but knowing doesn't actually change anything, because information doesn't rewire your brain, repetition does. And what you're about to hear might explain why change feels so hard, even when you know you're doing everything right. You can build a better version of yourself, but not unless you understand how to rewire the habits you already have. Right now, whether you realize it or not, you're training your brain. Every action is a rep. Every day is a vote for who you're becoming. So let's make sure you're voting for the right person. Number 1 is to imagine trying to plant a new tree. You can dig into dry, untouched ground. Or you could plant it next to something already thriving. That's what habit stacking is. You take something you already do, like brushing your teeth, making coffee, or locking your door, and attach a small new habit to it. For example, I hope you brush your teeth twice, so I'm gonna assume you do. So when you're brushing your teeth, you can very easily use a mouthwash for 30 seconds at night. Or when your coffee is brewing, you can just do some stretches. Attaching small mini habits like these to bigger habits like those makes it much easier to start seeing some change, because you're not building from scratch. You're piggybacking on something that already works. It's like sneaking into a concert using someone else's wristband. Makes it very, very easy. Your brain resists change on purpose, and unless you learn how to sneak past that resistance, your habits will always snap back. Let's look at how to get around it without a fight. Which leads us to number 2, starting stupid small. Let's stick to the dental advice. If you have a problem with flossing, you might say that, flossing every day is hard, I can't stay consistent with it, then just floss one tooth. Literally, just floss one tooth. The hardest part isn't flossing, it's starting. If you want to work out, do 2 push-ups. If you want to read, just open the book and read a couple words. If you want to pray, just do it for 30 seconds. Doing something is better than doing nothing. It's much better to do a full proper workout, but doing 2 push-ups is better than not doing anything. The goal isn't to finish the marathon, it's to put your shoes on. Once you start, your brain wants to keep going. Tiny wins like that rewire your identity, but only if your brain can see them. If you skip this next part, they'll never stick. Here's how you can turn invisible progress into momentum, and that is to track your progress visibly. Humans are visual. You ever notice how satisfying it is to cross something off of your to-do list? That's dopamine because you're fulfilling progress. Now imagine a calendar on your wall. Every day you complete your habit, you mark a big red X. At first, it's just a mark, but after 4 or 5 days, you won't want to break the chain. You'll do 5 push-ups just to protect that little X on your calendar. And that's the point. The red X is a receipt. It proves you're becoming the kind of person who shows up. By the way, if you want a place to actually build these habits with other people, I have a Discord server full of people trying to level up just like you. And if you want even more, I opened up YouTube memberships too. You'll get early access to uploads whenever possible, unreleased content that I don't share publicly, and more stuff that I'm working on behind the scenes. No pressure, but if you're in, I'd love to have you there. So even visible progress can die in the wrong environment. Momentum feels powerful, but it collapses in the wrong environment. If your space is fighting you, your discipline won't survive. This is more than just moving your phone out of the room, so let's fix your environment. You can't out-discipline a bad environment. Studies show willpower is like a battery, and it drains fast. So make it easier on yourself. Put your phone in another room, or take addicting apps off your home screen. Have your textbooks already open on the page that you need to turn to, and have your gym clothes ready the night before. These aren't hacks, they're friction removers. You are the architect of your space. So build it like your life depends on it, because it literally does. Most people think they need more willpower. But what actually works is building systems that act before your brain even hesitates. Here's how to set one up without overthinking it, which is using the if-then rules. There's a tool called implementation intention. If X happens, then I'll do Y. It makes you sound like a robot, but it's insanely effective. Studies show that it makes you up to 300% more likely to follow through, saying things like, if I feel stressed, I'll walk outside. If I want to scroll, I'll drink water. If I feel tempted to relapse, I'll text a friend. It's not about being perfect, because in that 1-second pause, that's where you can find a lot of your change. You don't need to fight your habits forever. But if you don't build this next pause into your day, you may never interrupt the loop at all. Let's put your brain back in the driver's seat by reflecting every night. Here's a habit that not many people do, but everyone should. Reflection. At the end of your day, you should ask, what did I do well? What got in the way? What will I change tomorrow? You don't need a journal, just whisper it to yourself before bed. This one tiny moment rewires your brain every single night. It turns mistakes into lessons, and it stops a bad day from becoming a bad week. It's not just modern psychology. In Islam, we're taught to reflect before sleeping, to review, self-correct, and grow. It's a pretty smart thing to do. Reflection helps you recover, but this next one is how you build momentum. Without it, you're just resetting the same day over and over. So set a daily intention. Most people wake up and hand the day to their phone. You check one thing, then you're gone for hours. But if you take 60 seconds, you take your life back. Just say one thing. Today I'll move. Today I'll protect my peace. Today I'll choose better. You're not chasing perfection, you're pointing your brain in the right direction. And sometimes that's really all you need. You can catch feelings for someone who never ever lied to you and still feel completely betrayed. Because the real heartbreak, it's not when they change, it's when you finally admit they were never who you thought they were. And this story someone sent me is the exact moment that realization hits. You can build a whole future with someone and not realize it was never real. But it's harder to protect yourself from that unless you hear what's coming next. And the way this person's illusion shattered, it'll stay with you. So the story he sent me goes, I was with this girl for almost a year. She was beautiful, a 10 out of 10. The kind of beautiful that makes you skip steps, skip questions, and skip judgment. From the beginning, I filled in every blank. I told myself she was kind, loyal, emotionally deep. I thought I knew her. It's really wild how fast our brains start building a whole life off of, like, one smile. Like, think about it. She laughs at one of your jokes, and all of a sudden, I know a whole lot of you are like, she probably reads books all the time and calls her mom every day. No, bro, she just said that's funny and laughed at your joke, Romeo. Chill out. But a lot of people don't fall in love with a person. They fall in love with the idea of a person. Something that fills a hole. He saw someone attractive, a 10 out of 10. And all of a sudden, his brain started building the rest of the picture from nothing. He thought she must be kind. She probably had her life together. And he probably thought she definitely wouldn't hurt him. But none of that was ever said. It was just implied by his own imagination. And maybe you've done that too. Think about it like this. If you love the idea of someone, it's like walking into a house and seeing a clean living room. So you assume the whole place is spotless. You just decide it's perfect because the first impression felt good. That's what infatuation is. It's a hallucination that you decorate with hope. And when you're lonely or craving love or tired of waiting for someone, that hallucination becomes home. The illusion only works until it doesn't though. And the next part of this story is where it all starts to unravel. He said she'd avoid certain questions. She changed around different people. When I talked about the future, she got quiet. My friends warned me. Even my gut warned me. But I didn't want to start over, so I held on to the version of her that I created. He didn't stay because he believed in the connection. He stayed because deep down, he was afraid of admitting the truth, that this person wasn't who he thought she was. And maybe they were never actually compatible. That's a hard thing to face, and I'm sure a lot of people have dealt with this multiple times before. It's like being a whole season into a show that you wanted to love, but the plot kinda sucks, and the characters don't make sense, and every new episode is just you coping. If the story you've made up about your partner is a fantasy, then the story you're writing about yourself will be a tragedy. You tell yourself you're being loyal, that it's maturity, but sometimes it's just fear wearing patience like a costume. Real quick, the Discord has been popping lately. Good laughs, real conversations, and people actually wanting to level up. You can find the link in that description, and if you want to support the channel, memberships have gone live too, with early drops, bonus content, and custom emojis for the comments. So he thought he was building something real, but what happened next? It tore the illusion in half and exposed everything underneath. Continuing in the story, he said, "Then came the night it all fell apart. She called me, crying. I thought something had happened, but all she said was, 'I miss him so much, I don't know what to do.' And I said, 'Who?' And she went quiet, then whispered a name I'd never heard before, someone I didn't even know existed in her life. And in that moment, It all rewrote itself. Everything he believed, every memory, every future plan, gone in one breath. That was the moment it broke. So when reality showed up for him, it didn't knock. It crashed through the ceiling. One phrase, one slip, that's all it took. Just one moment of weakness. And all of a sudden, everything he believed about her didn't just feel wrong, it felt fake. That's how illusions break. It's not always through some massive betrayal, but through something small that confirms what you already didn't want to admit. It's like standing in front of a locked door for months, convinced it just won't open, only to finally turn the handle and realize it was never locked at all. The door wasn't the problem. He just didn't want to see the truth that was on the other side. Nothing about her changed. He just stopped lying to himself. And if you ever find yourself in that situation, where you're sitting with evidence you didn't want to believe, the kindest thing you can do is finally just walk away, as much as it hurts. You'd think that would be the end of the story, but it wasn't. Because here's what most people don't admit. He says, after that night, I started replaying everything. Every weird silence, every red flag. She didn't lie to me, she just never corrected the fantasy I created. And I didn't want to lose that version, so I held on, even when I knew it was fake. Remember when I said that the kindest thing you can do is to walk away? That would have applied in this situation too. He thought he could love her into becoming the version in his head, but love doesn't work like that. You're not your partner's therapist. You are not a redemption arc. It's like going to the gym and lifting someone else's weights every day. Your muscles are the ones that will break, not them. People don't change just because you love them hard enough or because you simp hard enough. They change when they choose to and when they want to. But when things like this do break, in Islam, we're taught that not everything that breaks is a punishment. Sometimes it's designed. He thought he lost someone special, but maybe what he really lost was the veil that kept him from seeing clearly. And maybe that's what this was. Not rejection, kinda just redirection. Back to living a grounded and real life. You don't walk away from something like this and just bounce back. Even if your mind understands it's over, your body and heart still want the old story to be true. So before you rebuild, just kinda sit with it and understand. Let the illusion die fully, so you don't bring this into your next chapter. You ever feel like you've got the vision, the long-term dream? You know what you want your life to look like. Successful, disciplined, fulfilled, but then it's 2 a.m. and you're still stuck in the same loop. Scrolling, distracted, overthinking, and your routine's a mess. Well, I'm here to tell you, you're not lazy and you're not broken. And what happens next might be the shift that finally sticks. Somebody I heard of, he's not a guru, not an influencer, not even really into like self-help or self-betterment. He just got tired of feeling tired. Not in a dramatic way, just a kind of tired that comes from losing a slow fight with your own habits. He said one time, almost without thinking, that he decided to stop bringing his phone to bed. No life plan and no productivity video behind it. Just one small change. He plugged it in across the room. The first night felt weird, but the second night, he fell asleep faster. By the end of the week, something clicked. Because that one decision of charging his phone on the other side of the room gave him better sleep. Getting better sleep gave him more energy. And having more energy gave him just enough time to wake up earlier, breathe, stretch, maybe even sit in silence before the day started. And that one decision, it triggered a domino effect that he never saw coming. The reason most people fail to stick to a routine isn't because they're broken. It's because they build routines for the person they want to be, not the person they are today. It's like buying clothes 3 sizes too small, hoping you'll grow into them. That might work, but most of the time, you grow because the clothes you wear today make you feel comfortable and capable. The same thing goes for your routine. You don't really need an hour-long reflection session at 5 a.m. if your current self struggles to even wake up before 10. You need one win, one anchor habit, one shift that finally fits your life. It's kind of like anchor beings in Marvel. If you don't have that one anchor, the entire universe just destroys itself. So here's the part nobody talks about because it doesn't sound dramatic enough to sell. Month by month, he just tested one thing at a time. Not a routine, just a rule. One month, he tried no caffeine after 2 p.m. Another month, he went for a 10-minute walk every time he felt an afternoon crash. But the biggest shift, for the first 30 days, he stopped consuming anything first thing in the morning. No TikTok, no YouTube, no news, and no music. He said it felt like quitting sugar, caffeine, and drama all on the same day. It was just filled with silence, some stretching, sometimes prayer, sometimes nothing at all. At first, he said it felt wrong, like stepping out of a loud concert into silence. You suddenly realize how much noise you've gotten used to. That was his brain, and almost all of our brains. Constant input, zero reflection. But after a few days, he started craving the silence. Not because it was productive, but because for the first time in years, his mornings belonged to him. And honestly, the most peaceful mornings I've ever had were the ones where I pray Fajr and don't go back to bed, which is the Islamic morning prayer. I just stayed up, no noise, just stillness. That quiet time, it hits different when it feels like the rest of the world is asleep. But what he didn't expect was how uncomfortable peace can feel at first. The best routines aren't rigid schedules. They're invisible systems, quiet structures that reduce friction without making you feel restricted. Like how a great kitchen runs smoothly, not because the chefs are superhuman, but because everything is designed to make movement effortless. Some of the most life-changing routines are just like that. They're not necessarily aesthetic. They're not Instagrammable. They're not even noticeable. But they give your brain fewer decisions to make. And in return, they give your soul more room to breathe. And this is where most people sabotage the exact thing they were waiting for. Someone told me this analogy that stuck. Most people treat self-improvement like a ladder. You're either climbing or you're falling. But routines, especially the good ones, they're more like staircases. Some steps are small, some are steep, some are awkward and uneven. But the beauty of a staircase is, if you trip, you don't fall all the way back down. You just pause, regain balance, then keep going. That's what a solid routine does. It catches you when you slip. It holds space for the days when you can't show up at 100%. But then it hit him. Maybe he wasn't failing the routine. Maybe the routine was failing him. And right before we get to what changed, quick pause. If you want a space to grow with people on the same path, the Discord has been popping. The link is in the description. And if you want early access to uploads, unreleased content, and extra perks, you can join the YouTube membership too. So there's a reason you get more done on a day when your space is clean. Or why it's easier to write in a quiet cafe than at your cluttered desk. Discipline is draining, but design is supportive. Studies show that we make about 35,000 decisions a day, and most of our willpower gets eaten up by small, repetitive choices. So if your environment is always tempting you to scroll, if your routine requires constant effort just to begin, you're not undisciplined, you're just exhausted. You don't need to be stronger, you just need to be smarter about what you automate. You know what it's like? It's like installing a railing next to your stairs. You don't think about it when you're strong, but the day your legs are shaking, it saves you. Here's where he almost gave up, until he noticed something that changed everything. One day, things went south for him. He woke up late, got hit with 2 deadline changes, didn't sleep well at all. The kind of day that used to wreck him. But this time, he didn't spiral, because his shoes were already by the door. His meals were prepped. His task list was already written from the night before. That day wasn't perfect, but it wasn't a breakdown either, because his past self had left him a backup plan. That's what routines really are. Compassion in advance. A lifeline from who you were to who you're trying to be. But this one shift, it made chaos feel survivable. He still slips sometimes, but now he doesn't spiral. Because when the floor of your life is built with care, you stop living in panic mode. You start waking up and realizing, hey, this actually feels manageable. He's not chasing the perfect day anymore. He's chasing sustainability. Habits that don't collapse when life gets hard. Maybe you're not 30 days away from changing your life. Maybe you're just 1% away. You ever catch yourself watching self-help videos for hours and then doing absolutely nothing about it? Like you just binged 3 videos on how to fix your focus and dopamine detox and building discipline. But then you said, I'll do it tomorrow, and then you open TikTok right after. Well, yeah, that's not really growth. That's brain rot in a new flavor. I'm not judging anybody. I make videos just like that, and I watch other videos just like them. And for a long time, I convinced myself that I was improving. But what I'm about to tell you might explain why your life still looks the exact same, even though it feels like you've been working on yourself. This is the trap most people fall into without realizing, because it feels like progress, but it's just another form of avoidance. Self-help content feels like change. Like watching a 20-minute video on how to study better gives you the illusion that you actually studied. Your brain gives you a fake gold star. You didn't finish any homework, but you watched someone talk about doing homework. Your brain says that's close enough. It's what psychologists call the intention-action gap. Your intention feels real, so your brain rewards you as if you acted on it. This is why people can watch 200 hours of self-help and still feel broken. Because your brain is high on ideas, but starving for evidence and results. But no neural wiring happens unless you take action. And if you're in that cycle, watching, feeling inspired, doing nothing, I built something that might actually help. It's a Notion system called the Reset Hub. No overkill dashboards or aesthetic fluff, just one clean page designed to break the loop and give you a daily rhythm again. Because it's not that you don't care, it's that everything feels scattered. You don't really need more advice, you need a place to land. That's what this is. It's completely free. So if you're serious about getting unstuck, you can grab it below, first link in the description. It might be the first thing that actually helps you do something after watching one of these. It's important for us to rewire how you chase. So in a second, I'll show you the 3 traps that keep people stuck in this cycle for years and how to break out. The first trap is becoming addicted to learning. You think you're collecting wisdom, but really you're collecting coping mechanisms. Videos feel safe because real life doesn't. So instead of making the cold call, you watch someone else explain how they did it. Instead of applying the gym routine, you analyze why yours isn't working. You're running simulations, but never stepping on the battlefield. And the truth is, you're never going to feel ready. So the longer you spend preparing, the harder it gets to move. That's analysis paralysis. Here's the second trap. One that keeps even smart, disciplined people stuck for years. Some people get addicted to the idea of healing. Like, they post quotes about self-love and grind and discipline, but secretly don't want to get better. Because being in the process gives them an identity. You get sympathy, you feel deep, you feel like you're becoming someone. But if you actually healed, you'd lose that story. That identity of being the person who's working on themselves is comfortable. Getting better is scary because it forces you to grow beyond the version of yourself you've already learned to survive as. And in a second, I'll show you a helpful framework that people use to escape this. But first, let me show you the third trap, the one nobody thinks they're in. This one sounds smart.
saying, I'll start when school calms down, I'll launch when the timing feels right, I'll rebuild once I'm in a better place. But that better place isn't actually coming. Life doesn't pause, it doesn't settle, and waiting to feel ready is just fear in disguise. The only way out is to start before it feels safe. And here's the truth that finally gets people moving again. When people stop trying to change everything at once and just try to change one thing at a time, they actually start making progress. I stopped binging 4-hour morning routines and just tried waking up 15 minutes earlier. I stopped rewiring my identity and just tried getting out of bed a little bit faster in the morning. It's not glamorous, but it sticks, because that's how momentum works. You don't need a master plan in the beginning. You just need to start with a small win. One of the most healing things for me is just making one small dua or prayer each morning. Not a long one, just something like, "Oh Allah," or "Dear God, guide me through today." It can remind people that they're not alone in this journey, even if nothing else feels steady. So whether you're religious or not, I promise you, just ask anything. Just say, whoever is out there, please guide me through this day, and please guide me on a good path of life. Just please trust me on that one. So in a second, I'll show you why I think most people never actually escape this, but let me drop this real quick. If you've been liking the vibe here, I'd love for you to join the Discord. It's free and full of people maybe like you trying to take their lives back. And if you want to go deeper, YouTube members get early access to uploads whenever possible, unreleased content, and even some unreleased videos that I made with friends a long time ago that I'd never thought I'd show to anyone again. So the reason you still feel stuck is because you keep treating self-help like entertainment. You don't need another dopamine detox breakdown. You don't need another 15 productivity hacks. You need one decision, which is to stop being a fan of growth and start being the person who actually acts on it.